Good evening, folks. Sitting here by the fire, and it really is pretty nice, but outside the temperatures dropped below 20 degrees. And so, really thinking about what happened last February last year and how it got so cold, and clearly our system wasn't prepared for what happened. And first, let's say, or let's remind us that there are people tonight already without power, not for the same reason yet as last February, but because of the ice storm, trees have come down and broken power lines, and so there are already people in Texas without power. And so we need to think about the susceptibility of our power grid to nature, and that is primarily what shut everything down last February, because our grid is dependent on two different power sources. One which is called dispatchable, which is your nuclear, your coal, your gas fired, and then your intermittent, which is your wind, primarily wind and a little bit of solar. And the problem we have is that today 25% of our power source comes primarily from wind. And when you see though that the safety margin they designed into the system is only a 15% margin, and that is so that margin is the maximum expected demand versus the maximum capacity to generate is only a 15% spread. So when you have intermittent or something that is dependent upon nature, which is your wind, exceeds that by about 160%, you ought to be able to see pretty easily that if the wind shuts down completely on a large scale, that margin of safety just vanishes from something we have no control over. Just like this ice storm that hit today, you can't control that. It takes down tree limbs, it takes down power lines, and it's what nature has done to us. And so that is a significant issue with our power grid that we have to address, because right now with all the incentives, where we're going is they're expecting within a few years intermittent or wind will be maybe 50% of our total grid. So you can see that pretty much guarantees another February 2021 or a summer equivalent if we don't do something. So as I'm running for office, HD 65, I'm telling you, I'm going to be pushing to see that our dependence upon intermittent or things that we can't control cannot exceed our safety margin. There's another thing that I think we do need to look at, and that is there's so much going on now with nuclear that is so many, there are about 70 different experimental programs going on that have a lot of promise. One of them is Westinghouse is working on that in conjunction with some of even our schools here, helping them with some of the design that holds a lot of promise. So there are many things out there that might be able to replace that we need to focus on, things that are dependable, reliable, and safe. There's one other thing that we need to address coming up, and that is in this last round, we saw the price for the wholesalers selling to the people who sell to us. The price went from $30 per kilowatt hour to $9,000 dollars per kilowatt hour during the shutdown. That can't happen again. That's part of the state-sponsored or approved contracts that are out there, and that's outrageous. That kind of price gouging has been against the law in every industry, except of course when the government approves or is a party to it. And we can't have that anymore. And I guarantee you, if I'm in office, I will come against that, and I will find out a way to shut that process down so that doesn't happen to us again. So folks, let's keep those who are without power in our prayers tonight, and let's focus on figuring out a way to solve this problem. And I promise you I will. So vote for me for Texas House 65. Thank you very much, and have a safe evening.